Welcome to RotoGrinders Today. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka BlenderHD, BlenderHD. You're gonna follow me on Twitter. And it's Thursday, February 1st, and I'm back. And I'm back from my cruises. And we're getting back on the hump. Not much action today. NHL is on an all-star break, but we do have a 4-game NBA slate tonight. We got some props, got some pick'em stuff. We got the DFS slate. Tomorrow we'll be talking about MMA with Squirrel Patrol. We got the Super Bowl lined up. So next week we'll be talking about a lot of the Super Bowl contests. But joining me on my first day back in a week and a half is the CEO of Chiefs Prop Shop in our Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord. It's Will Priester. And the thing that I like about coming back, Will, let alone now I could actually bet and play DFS or whatever. You know, in international waters, you really can't log into DraftKings or do any of that stuff. The weather isn't that bad. I mean, like I was used to 75, 80-degree weather. It's going to be like in the low 50s today, and at least that's better than when I left when it was -6 with the wind chill. So I'm fine with that. But we also have this slate, Will, that it's a 4-game slate, and I just feel like there's so many people on the injury report for a 4-game slate. Just, you know, to me, the slate at 11 in the morning, this slate is kind of like shrug emoji. Like I have no idea what we're gonna do.
Yeah, and that's something we mentioned before pre-show. 4 games, 15, 20 questionable tags, some doubtfuls. And the thing about it, Blender, is it's not like it's not like it's, Scottie Pippen Jr. or Aaron Neesmith. A lot of these guys are important. Like these are people we're going to need to know. And so it's the NBA is an interesting daily grind. It's probably, Blender, and I think you'll agree with this, NBA is probably the most tedious daily grind. Like MLB I don't consider MLB tedious because you kind of know what's going to happen going, and you're just building lineups. You look at the field, you look,
also, just the tediousness of it is in MLB, even though it's like, slight lineup change or a pitcher gets scratched, is that it doesn't dramatically affect the values of all the other players on the slate or on their teams.
Correct. Yeah.
And NBA is the type of thing where, like, if you set a lineup now, it's not just like, well, the guy in your lineup may not be playing. It's that, well, with these 3 guys out, like the guy that's like 4,200, like you almost have to play now. Like it becomes where if you're not taking advantage of that and looking at 11, I mean, I say this at 11 in the morning when there's no one on the injury report, when it's like, well, we never know what's going to happen in the afternoon. Someone is in, someone is out. But on this slate, I mean, legitimately, look, I'm bringing up. We always have the injured tag. Like this is what I first do in the morning, especially betting NBA props, right? Because remember, I'm more on the prop side now, especially for NBA, than I am on the DFS side. And the first thing I do is I load up our projections, right? We could throw it up on the screen. That's in Lineup HQ, which obviously for premium members. So click on that link in the description, get $10 off your first month. And I click on that injured tag thing and I go, okay, what teams do I have to look out for news about, prop wise, in, out, and like the guys like guys that only project for like 4 minutes, 11 minutes. It's like they're just going to get replaced by, the 11th guy off the bench, that type of thing. But I mean, dude, like I think every game, I think every team other than Cleveland and Utah have people that like look at the Pacers. I mean, come on, really? Come on, Indiana. I mean, and then you have the Lakers, and it's not. I mean, recently it's not like they AD and LeBron get these Q tags and like, oh, we know they're going to play. It's like they've been shenaniganing it up for the past recent memory.
Especially as we're coming closer to the All-Star break.
Right.
They could very well, one sits today, the other one sits tomorrow, both sit this day. And it didn't help Blender that they play. And look, that's about a week ago now. But like they played this double overtime game on like a random Saturday. And I know you weren't here for that. But I mean, both guys played, I don't know, close to 50 minutes. I mean, just crazy stuff happening, Blender. They did win the game, by the way, but Maxi's questionable, where Embiid most likely, I'm almost positive, isn't going to play tonight, and that's important. That's why I said on such a small slate, a lot of these questionable tags are very important for however you want to approach lineup construction.
I mean, with the spread, I mean, I'm reading tea leaves here, Will. The spread on this Lakers Celtics game is 11.5.
Oh yeah.
Does that, I mean, to me yes, the Celtics should be favored over the Lakers, but by double digits, I mean, at home, I get it. But it feels like if they're both playing, the spread wouldn't be that wide. It would be maybe a 6-point, 7-point spread or something, maybe. Yeah. So, I mean, reading the tea leaves in the betting market, it feels like someone's sitting. I wouldn't be shocked if both of them sat. I mean, like, this is what I mean by how am I supposed to bet on props? Right. I mean, this is DFS. I don't even know why we even bother talking. I mean, like, dude, tune into Grinders Live later today. Tune into Crunch Time. We have if-then projections here at RotoGrinders. We have the Situation Room. We'll get news throughout the day. Our projections will update based on it to talk about these situations. I mean, we could be here for an hour talking about what if this, what if that, what if that. Like, everything will get updated. Yeah. But from a props perspective, being that, you're the chief proprietor of Chiefs Prop Shop, one thing I've noticed this year that makes my job a little bit easier by default, Will, is that a lot of the books just don't put up the props anymore. I mean, just literally, just like you will not see props on the Lakers at all. You will not see props on the Pacers at all. But the pick'em sites, on the other hand, are much more willing to put up some of these props than maybe like DraftKings or FanDuel. And you may get a Bet365 if that's available in your state. Let me tell you, if Bet365 is available in your state, sign up and just don't be greedy. I just say, don't be greedy. The numbers are, a lot of times I'm getting the best number at Bet365 and they leave them up for too long. But what do you do in these situations, especially on Prize Picks and Underdog, where they may have some numbers up and like, what do you do? I mean, what do you do? I mean, like, someone in my chat, and when I do my streams on my own channel, said that their approach is that the players that are not I mean, obviously, if you take AD's over rebound prop and he doesn't play, it just gets voided. So it's not like you'll lose anything. But their suggestion, how they've been approaching it, is that if the current projections that you have a value on the over of another player, those with them in. So, like, let's say you go into the Lakers, right? We go here to the Lakers. Like, if you have if our projections say that D'Angelo Russell points is of value profitably based on the line on the over, you could take that now at 11 o'clock in the morning because, like,
absolutely,
it's the projection is based on Davis and James playing, so it could only get better if he's not. I mean, if they both don't play, I mean, you'll have tons of value. But on the unders, like if you're going to take an Austin Reeves under today, like it's hard to take that now because it's not going to be. It's going to be a very bad bet when they both sit. If they both sit,
yeah. Well, let me talk through and see. I think the thing is, Blender, people have to understand like what they have access to, and I know it seems really.
Don't tell me you're going to bring up Flip. You've been making too much money over at Flip.
No. It's about every avenue. So first is Blender. In your case, not only do you have props and pick'em, or most of the props and pick'em site, you've got the sports books, right? Like that's why you say, hey, Bet365, folks. You need the prop. For me, and this is a fair amount of people in the prop shop, I think they've noticed, between me and a few others, people that have access to it, we've been kind of given this interesting gift with DraftKings Pick 6. And the thing about DraftKings Pick 6, Blender, is it's as close to traditional DFS or salary cap DFS as you're going to get, because they're not going to move the lines. And Blender, I can edit the lineups up to lock. Edit the entries, the entries up to lock. So for me, my new process on a day like today, I just go and reserve it. I say, okay, well, I want to get 5 things in on pick 6 today. I'll just go and reserve, and then I'll let, all the news occur, everything comes through. Then as news settles in, I'll check the odds, I'll check projections, and I start making decisions. Why? Because pick six has essentially now given me the cheat code. I don't have to compete with DraftKings. I'm competing against you. And so as a result, it wasn't as prevalent in the beginning, Blender, but now that, more people are playing, it's very advantageous for me to avoid all of the chalk plays, all of them, even though the lines are good. And so that's where I'm going to bring this back to you, Blender, because I think this is important. This is where understanding the theory of DFS comes into play, right? This is what that course was about. If you listen to the course, whatever, this is what it's about. And so now on pick 6, they're giving me lines. And typically, Blender, I'm taking unders there. Typically, because the lines, the lines are a little bit inflated most of the time. Typically, not every day, but typically there are more unders available. Why are there more unders available? Also, but I'll say this, and I'm going to move on and let you talk. Most people, if they're just a standard investor, bet or whatever, most people play overs every day. That most, not all, but most are taking overs. So the site is geared more towards unders, but they know people are going to play the overs anyway. Now, case in point, I've been having like a rough stretch the past, 3 or 4 days. I'm not worried about that. Like, I was still way up for January, no big deal. But my point is, getting back to the theory of DFS here and how you approach it. If LeBron James is out tonight, right, everybody's going to take Anthony Davis over points, over PRA, right? That's what they're going to do. They're going to go to D'Angelo Russell, take his over points, over PRA. Blender, if I just avoid that set of picks, I don't need them all to fail. I just need one of them to fail. Why? Because most people are playing them all together, right? So if I just avoid, there's 20,000 other things I can play on the site, but people are going to gravitate towards those. Now, there's the reverse of that, which says, well, let other people make the stupid decisions. I'll take the value, whatever. But remember, we're playing peer-to-peer. If one fails, we've seen that the payouts start increasing dramatically. So I'm just saying that to say pick 6 has kind of opened up another world for me, Blender, where on a day like today, I'll just go to Prize Picks very late and see what's there. And if I have some value, I'll take it. I can just sit here at pick 6, look at the lines, wait all day, and I'm still going to have an advantage and a way to be very profitable that day, competing against my peers. Blender, I'll hand it back over to you. Sorry, I know that's a big soliloquy, but I thought it was very important.
No, I talked for a long time as well, so that's fine, right? But yeah. I mean, all the concepts that you mentioned are in the Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports, my DFS course. I have the Fundamentals Masterclass as well as the Advanced Players course. But the Fundamentals Masterclass explains the concept of peer-to-peer dynamics when it comes to predicting player performance against other people. So, yes, in betting, you're right. Like, what, when I take this guy's over, this guy's under, this guy's rebounds, whatever the hell it is, again, on DraftKings, on the sports book, like, I got the price, it's over, whatever, 8.5 rebounds at, minus 105 or whatever, and that's it, right? But the thing is that what you mentioned is that there's a game theory element of the pick 6 game. Now, I know it's not available in every state. It's not available in Kentucky yet, but these are the games that I want to be playing, right? This is the type of stuff that 5 years ago when sports betting was, starting to permeate around the country, I'm like, these peer-to-peer games based on props is going to either replace standard classic style salary-based DFS, or it's going to at least go hand in hand with it. But the ownership of the picks matters on, one, your win probability and the amount of money that you make. And that goes hand in hand with DFS. The three levers of DFS, as described in my course, I say this all the time. The three main levers that you're pulling when making lineups in DFS are projection, correlation, and leverage. Those are the three primary concepts, right? Projection is the easiest one to understand. It's that, we have a projected median on someone's assists. We have how many points are you getting for the in DFS? It's salary, but in pick six, it's just, can you get six things right? Right?
Correct.
What's the win probability of all of these? Right? And you want to create a card that the win probability of each of your six is higher of getting 6 out of 6 right. Maybe based on our projections, one person's card has like an 8.6% chance of getting 6 out of 6. Mm-hmm. And another person's card may have like a 7.2% chance. It's like you're making money against those people based on projection. But that assumes all the events are independent of one another, right? Because that's the second lever, correlation. Now, in NBA, correlation is not as dramatic. Once we pick six for baseball, if we get to that,
Blender,
now correlation comes.
I am so excited. You can almost look at my brain. Pick six for baseball. I am thrilled. I mean, I can't wait.
Right, because what people are going to do in pick six, that stupid people, they're going to pick 6 independent events. And me and you are going to take like 3 players from 2 different teams and have like 2 little 3-mans of like, if the Blue Jays and the Dodgers, go off today, I got, this guy does well. Everyone was more likely to do well. Yeah. They'll get more plate appearances. That's the way that's the correlation element of it. And that increases your win probability because the events aren't independent of one another. And then the third one is leverage. And the leverage comes into what you said about the payouts. So, for instance, on tonight's slate, if you were playing pick six or games of this ilk, the whole purpose of the Theory of DFS course, right, is to explain the game theory of any daily fantasy sport game, right? It's that this isn't like, how to beat DraftKings, Classic, whatever. Like, no, this is how to think of game theory concepts when it comes to all types of games where you're playing against other people. So you could listen to this 15-hour course and learn all the concepts that would be pick six, and you just have to frame them in that regard. And the leverage element is if let's say for because all the stuff is static, the lines don't move. It's not like the sports books where the lines move. So it's very similar to what salaries are.
Exactly.
Right? If AD and LeBron are out, it's not like they changed Austin Reeves' salary and bump him up $3,000. It'll make D'Angelo Russell $10K. They stick him at $7,300 the way he is. And that's the reason why if AD and LeBron are out, Russell should be a $10K player, but you're getting him at $7,300. So there's value there. The thing is that other people recognize the value, so he gets more and more owned. And there's a tipping point. We talk about efficient ownership, over-owned, under-owned, where too many that you want to get points that the field is not getting. So if Russell isn't as owned as he should be, you're getting more value out of it. If he's over-owned, too many people are also getting points, so the value of his points go down. Now, his raw points are still fine, but the value of that goes up from a financials perspective. And that's what you're talking about, that you could take advantage of the projection element by waiting, right? You're like, okay, I'm going to reserve my entries, and maybe we see late, right? You purposely take some Lakers spots and Boston's, it's early, it's the early game on 7:30, but there would be a scenario where you're leaving spots and you're going to take some Lakers stuff just so you see what happens. And then go, well, if he's out, I'm just going to switch to Russell overs. I'm going to switch to Austin Reeves overs or stuff like that. Hopefully, because they come in lower owned because of it. Yeah. Or you do the opposite. Let's say this news comes out like now. And it's like, okay, everyone and their mother is taking D'Angelo Russell points overs.
Absolutely.
if
that's
he
not
ends
an
up being
exaggeration.
like,
That's what's going to happen. That's
right.
exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, but the point is that let's just say 70% of people pick D'Angelo Russell points over. You getting that prop right when he's 70% owned. Like, well, 70% of the people are getting 1 out of 6. Like, if you get a 6 out of 6 with 6 props that are very heavily chosen, your payout is going to be because everyone's splitting that 6 out of 6 type of payout.
Yeah.
But let's say you don't take Russell's over and he fails. Now, if you get a 6 out of 6, you may get like a 50x or 100. I mean, you may get way more than that because you may be one of the only people that have a 6 out of 6. Even if you get 5 out of 6, you may end up actually making more money getting 5 out of 6 without Russell when he fails than getting a 6 out of 6 with Russell when he succeeds because too many people have that pick also.
Yeah, Blender, and I will tell you from experience, I think the most I've brought in a 6 out of 6 right now is close to 100. I mean, it was 93, 94.
That's still great.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm bringing that up because it was a day where the field. I mean, that day I might have just been totally against the field, Blender, but there were just so many failures, and you have to know that, right? Like there were just so many failures. The other thing too, Blender, and this one is kind of two-pronged for me. This is the extra level of this particular game that I think is interesting. I'm going to stick with that same D'Angelo Russell example because there's another way to beat the field. It's just sometimes it will work, sometimes it won't. I'm saying like if you read it, you look at projections, whatever. The other way to beat the field is, well, we know everybody's going to take D'Angelo Russell overs. I can just take the under. And
that would be the very similar. Well, let me explain the concept when it comes to classic DFS.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right? Because let's say like for the Super Bowl or something. I mean, we see this in NFL a lot also. You're like, everyone and their mother is taking CeeDee Lamb, right? Everyone and their mother is playing CeeDee Lamb. Now, you could get leverage on the field by just not taking CeeDee Lamb, right? Like just simply you're not touching the Cowboys at all, right? You you're taking some other team. There's a 10-game slate or whatever. But the way to get extra leverage is taking a player that is taking an event that is negatively correlated, because when that fails, you succeed. It's directly to each other. So we do it and see if you're I'm gonna fade CeeDee Lamb and play Brandon Cooks. Like that would be CeeDee Lamb fails, but Cooks benefits, and as Cooks benefits more, it takes points away from Lamb. So that's that version of, well, I know that Russell's over. Let's say, for instance, I'm using a completely made up example.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's say his points right now we're at 20. I'm just using a round number.
Yeah.
And when AD and LeBron get ruled out, assuming if they did get ruled out, his projection would be like 27, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or 25. Let's just say 25. Now,
25.5 is pretty reasonable. Yeah.
Right. With him in, his projection is probably 20, right? With them out, projection 25. Now, obviously, being able to play an over prop over 20, right, when his projection is 25, has a lot of value. Maybe you have a 64%, 65% win percentage on over 20 when it's 25. I'm just using round numbers just to make an example. Yeah. Which means that his under is only 35%, right? Now your goal in these pick six contests is building a card that has the highest win probability of independent events, right? Correct. So if you had 50%, 50%, 50%, 50%, that would be like the baseline. So if anything you can find that has a 57% win probability, a 59% win probability, very similar to what we do on Prize Picks and Underdog. Once you combine 6 of them, you're playing against the other people's 6s, and you're hoping on a normal day that they pick worse ones than you do. But people would say, well, why would you take D'Angelo Russell's under if it only has a 35% win probability? Well, let's say Russell's over is being over-owned. Let's use an extreme example, Will. Let's say you're playing a 10-man contest. Let's just say it's a pick sixes, whatever, to make it easy. And your 9 opponents are all playing Russell's over 20, which has a 65% win probability. You're playing Russell's under that has a 35% win probability. Now, the thing is that if you were playing this as like a double up, you'd be incorrect. Like, it's not worth doing that because you're only going to make like twice your money. The thing is that because he's 90% owned, like Russell fails 35% of the time. And those 35% of the time, you beat everyone in your contest, win first place, and get like 5x on your money. So actually, even though you have a lower win probability, your financial payout, this is the concept of leverage. That's DFS. This is literally exactly what you're doing in standard DFS, but you're doing it in a pick six environment. The only thing that you need to calculate or estimate in your head is how many people are going to pick this over, this pick, and what's the payout of this pick six contest, and where's that line of where he should be owned compared to the payout? Because in that 10-man contest, if I told you, Will, that only 3 people were taking that Russell's over 20 when he should have like 20, maybe you decide to just take it anyway because he's under. It's like you're not. If he fails, you're only beating 3 out of your opponents rather than 9 of your opponents, and you just say, well, if only 3 people are going to take it, I'll just take advantage of the fact that 6 other people didn't take it. But if all 9, like it's what I'm describing. If you've been playing DFS for forever, it's exactly the same consideration that you'd make in tonight's NBA. If D'Angelo Russell was 82% owned, it's like, is it worthwhile to play him at that ownership, depending on the lineup? But if I told you D'Angelo Russell with AD and LeBron James was only 16% owned, you'd be jamming him in all your line. I mean, you'd be trying to reserve more entries, right?
And Blender, here's another level of pick six. And I know we're kind of talking about this sport because, folks, guess what? This slate is weird. All these, so please accept our knowledge.
But this is strategy. This is what I focus on.
This is what they want to know anyway, or what I hope they want to know. Let's say that what I hope they want to know. Another thing we found on pick six is the smaller the slate is, Blender, the more the payouts increase because there's not as much room for error. Do you get? We don't have as many available, so people are choosing from, a certain number of props, and so it's
in DFS. You would consider it similar, like a show. Picture this was a 1-game slate. It's just that the ownership gets so condensed. On the picks, that imagine a pick six contest on a 1 game, like make an extreme example.
No, this is an extreme. Pick six does have 1 game from time to time, and this is
which means it's quite possible in this fictional scenario that if it was just the Lakers Celtics game, that if and when AD and LeBron get ruled out, like so many of the field has like Russell overs, Reeves overs. Right, they have Rui Hachimura over rebounds or something like that.
Right,
and like if you end up taking like an under and on the under, you may take the under on the opposite side and be like, well, maybe it's a blowout and Tatum goes under and Brown goes under because they've blown him out by the third quarter.
Correct.
And your game script in your pick six is like dramatically different than the rest of there's only so few options to take that you may end up being the only person with a 6 out of 6. And that's why the payouts end up going more because there's more condensed owners.
Let's talk through that from a real life example. Because I actually pulled this off last week. Last week there's I can't remember. I don't even remember who was playing. I don't remember. But I remember saying, wait a minute. In this game, everyone's taking overs. I said, what if it blows out? So I built a script like in 2 different, I kind of split up like, let's say 10 props across 2 cards, Blender. So, I had like some of the same ones in both, but then I had some slight variations. And once again, like I told you on pick 6, to me, this game does yield more to the unders based on how they set the lines. You know what I mean? Most days. So I take most of the unders there. But Blender, I built the game script against the field, and I knew I was doing it. And of course, at the end of the night, my payout was about 20x more than it should have been based on their estimation, because the field went a different direction. And so that's part of the game. Like, I hope people understand, like, we make money in this stuff. Like I'm saying with DFS, but it's still a game. Like pick 6 and salary cap DFS are still games, right? It's like, so you might not think about it like that because your money's attached to it, but Blender, it's a game. And if you know how to play the game, then while you might not hit it every day, you understand that portion too. Like, this isn't a game where you're going to win every day, but if you have the principles in place, the wins will come along and along and along. And so it's like, like back in the day, Blender, when I used to chase live finals, I think both of my live finals appearances came from smaller field contests, like 100 people or less, right? So I had to pay a little bit more money to get in, but the idea was, well, wait a minute, if I know how the field is going to play this tonight, then I have a way around. There's a way for me to beat the game today. Do you get what I'm saying? And so that's DFS. Like, how do you beat the game today? Because while the concepts change, the game, the little nuance in the game will change daily. The concepts of it will stay the same. Like, and I'll give you an example. Like last night, and I was kind of kicking myself. It's like Jaden Hardy, right? So Jaden Hardy comes out. Were you back at home last night, Blender? Did you just kind of get back?
No, I have no.
Okay.
The past week and a half, you might as well. Other than what happened in the football games, I have no clue.
No. Okay. So last night, Luka's out, Kyrie's out. Jaden Hardy is the guy, right? And of course, Jaden Hardy should be the guy. The projection was off the charts. And typically, Jaden Hardy does Jaden Hardy things when all those guys are out. He puts up 30 to 40 fantasy points. And, his ownership projected was around 67-ish%, which at 4,400 wasn't bad. But when you sit back and reflect, and you say, well, hey, how do we beat the game? It's like, well, who's the guy I can sacrifice today? As an example, that maybe is a little bit more fringe than what we think. Now, once again, I don't think Jaden Hardy was fringe, rough game, whatever. But the concept behind the game is I can either meet the field on Jaden Hardy, I can exceed the field on Jaden Hardy, I can be under the field on Jaden Hardy, or I can just not play Jaden Hardy, right? And so if you chose to eliminate Jaden Hardy yesterday because of the ownership factor, not the projection factor, right? Then you probably came out pretty well. And here's my reason for talking about that specifically, Blender, because yesterday there were so many more options other than Jaden Hardy that were going to be comparable. You get what I'm saying? So
it was one of those slates. We see this a lot in NBA. One of those slates where there's almost too much value. Correct. And the difference is, like, you have and obviously you're not going to leave 8,000 on the table. You still need raw points.
Yeah.
That you have so many people, like from 3,500 to 4,500, that project well enough for the salary. But what happens is that the guy that has a 2-point edge over the other 5 just gets an outsized amount of ownership, when in fact the differences between those 6 players aren't as dramatic as the ownership would suggest. And your attitude was that, well, if 70% of the field is going to play Jaden Hardy, but only 10%, 15% each on these other value plays, you're not set. If you looked at your total lineup without Jaden Hardy, yeah, you have a lower projection, but you may only be sacrificing 2 or 3 points in projection, but the ownership gap is going to be dramatically lower.
Correct.
That
Correct.
projection was worth. You're willing to give up that, but there were other slates where it ends up the other way, where there's some $3,800 guy that is projects for 10x, and there's no one like him on the slate.
Correct. And you
And
have
if
to
you don't
accept it
play this
almost.
guy, your projection will be 12 points lower. It's like those are the slates where probably you're playing. It's the projection you're giving up is probably not worth the ownership drop that it
Correct.
is. And like this dynamic still applies to a contest like Pick Six.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the great equalizer, I think, Blender, in where we're headed. Now, I do want to plug this in because Prize Picks also now has some peer-to-peer in certain states.
But they're doing what? Prize Picks Arena? I heard.
Yeah, something like that. I think that's the name of it, Blender. But you have to know, like, this may be the new way. And you got to see it coming from a mile away. Like, because think about it this way. The sites now basically go to a more standard model. They take their rate. They're still going to get paid. And we compete against each other. And that's how, Blender, they're going to keep it as a daily fantasy game. That's how that's how it's going to stay relevant.
Because it actually will, because it actually is.
Correct.
Right? Because you're playing against other people. And the thing is, just like in standard DFS, just like on DraftKings and FanDuel and Yahoo and wherever, if you're good at it, like, they're not going to kick you out. They're not going to limit you. They're not just, you're not beating them. They're taking their 15, 20% no matter what. So as long as you're playing very similar to DFS, and I say it all the time, it's in the course. Where does the money come from? As long as you're playing against people that are worse than you, you're going to make money.
Exactly. And Blender, that's actually, while you may have to sacrifice some upside certain days, there are other days where the upside is immense. So, like for me, and this happens in the prop shop a lot, or I don't want to say a lot, but on days where the payout is lower, here's what we do, Blender. We highlight the lower, the payout's crappy today. Yeah, but what about my 100x I got yesterday? Like, it's going to come back around if you stay the course. So, yeah, I think the standard payout right now, Blender, is somewhere around, let's call it 20x or a little less than 20x. Like, that's about where it is for like a 6 pick or whatever. But you understand, like, okay, so let's say for a $25 entry right now, Blender, they've got it around $500. As an example, that's the estimated, what they anticipate it should be. Well, okay, maybe today it was $385. Okay, it's still profitable, but tomorrow it may be $840 because of your peers have failed. The next day it may be $400. The next day, Blender, the next day it could be $1,200. So that's the game.
Well, the thing is that the two things. I mean, people say this all the time when like a slate doesn't look good or something like that. It's like you could only play the cards that you're dealt, and everyone is being dealt the same cards. The 4 games NBA slate it is what it is. Play it as a 4-game NBA slate. If you don't see that you have much of an edge, then feel free to skip it. But your edge on days will be different. There may be days where it's not worth it to play Pick Six, but it may be worth it to do SGPs. It may be better. Like, it's quite possible. Like, for instance, on Pick Six, put together your card. Right. I suggest people do this also for Prize Picks and Underdog, especially when it comes to the demons, like the demons and goblins, that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. Put together your card, right? Put it together. Put together your 5. Put together your 4, right? It's easy. 10x payout. Put together the 4, and then compare that. Go to FanDuel, go to DraftKings, put together that parlay. You may find that you're getting that if those numbers hit, you may actually get a 7% higher payout just betting the straight parlay on FanDuel than doing the card on Prize Picks, and vice versa. Sometimes you go on Prize Picks and it's like, well, my EV on this is whatever, and it's actually higher than putting together an SGP on FanDuel, and every day is going to be different, right?
Yeah.
The numbers are going to be different, right? The people you play against in pick six are going to be different. So it's not like what you mentioned before about like, well, today's payout's 385. Well, should it be? Like maybe it should only be 250. Maybe everyone's playing too much stuff and it should be 250. And 385 is actually a good payout based on the win probabilities of what you're taking, right? But on another day, maybe the payouts estimated for you is 850, and really it should be 1,000.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So it's not just like the raw number that you're looking at, is comparing that win probability against the expected payout and go, where is the best place for me to put my money? And on certain days, no matter what the raw number is, some days it may be better off to do a pick six card with those numbers. Sometimes it may be doing a prize pick. So sometimes it may be doing a bit of both. Maybe I got a 12% edge here. I got an 8% edge there. I got a 4% edge here. And it's like, well, all of them are edge. I mean, feel free to do all three of them. But obviously, you'd want to devote more time and money towards the larger edges that you have. I love, Will, to wrap things up, coming back, right, from a week and a half. It goes along with a lot of stuff that I say on my personal YouTube channel, is that there are so many edges available that you don't have to do all of it if you don't want. I mean, like, you literally, if you were to try to get every edge, you'd be sitting in front of your computer 24/7. I mean, there's that much available, and things change all the time. Just sitting at your computer and seeing that some information comes out and you're able to hammer a number before it moves, like, that's an edge also. Like, there's so much available. Don't get yourself stuck on, well, I'm just going to play this and I'm just going to do that, right? I'm going to talk about MMA tomorrow with Squirrel Patrol, and there may be significant strike props on Bet365 that are off enough where I'm like, instead of putting extra entries into the DraftKings, I put that money towards that. And on certain weeks, maybe there's limited edge or nothing available in the betting market. I'm like, okay, this is when I put more entries into DFS. Or maybe in DFS, there's a fighter that's like way underowned. I want to make more lineups with that fighter, so I'm going to devote more money. And there are some slates where I look at it and go, the ownership is kind of efficient all the way around. There's little inefficiencies here and there. Those are the slates where I'm like, I'll put my minimum in, right, just to play the slate. Maybe pass on it altogether. Like, you have to approach each day to day, where you can only play the cards that are given to you. See what's available out in the market on all these platforms, right? You got Flip and Vivid and some of these other ones that I don't have access to, right? I got platforms that I got sports books you don't got access to.
Correct.
Right? I'm talking about Bet365. There are people they're only in like 7 or 8 states or something. People may be looking at that going, well, I can't do those NFL props on Bet365. It's like, well, then you'll find it dead. Maybe you're playing. I don't have access to pick six, and Will, you're taking advantage of that. And I'm sitting here going, well, I'm waiting for another out, right? It's not here yet, but I'm gonna learn about these things before they get here, so I could jump on them when they do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those are the games we played, Blender. And if you know how to do it right, and you know how to approach it right, and you know how to build it and get yourself to a reasonable level, like, you can have a reasonable career in this. Now, I'm not saying everybody's going to be a millionaire. That's not what we're saying. But Blender, I worked in corporate America, and anywhere from 70, 80 to 6 figures a year, right? I can do that sitting at home now. I don't have to get up and punch a clock and listen to someone tell me what to do and call client. And not that I didn't enjoy it, Blender. It's about, what did I gain by walking away from corporate America? I gained freedom of my time. And I still have to sit in front of my computer and work. Like, I still have to work. So I don't want to insult anyone. It's not about that. It's about the fact that I can make an honest living doing something I love, and I don't have to, go out and if I want to take a vacation, Blender, I just let Devin know, hey, Devin, I need to be out for a week. And it's not like, oh, well, we need you here because such a, and obviously, we provide content too. So there's some things that have to take place. But my point is, you can do this if you know how to play the game. If you know how to play the game, you understand the game. Like, Blender's here to help. I'm here to help. Like, we've been doing this long enough to help you. McCool, he can help. The course can help. Roto Academy can help. And Blender, here's the thing. Here's what I think I want people to know, even though if they've listened to an interview about this, they probably know it already. I'm not one of those people that didn't learn about the game, right? When I started doing this, I was the Roto Academy person digging into all this stuff. I would have been, so if I was new, right? If I was new, I would have been the person that would have signed up for that course and listened to all 15 hours and say, okay, all right, now how can I apply this, what I'm doing? And I would have went back and listened to it again to make sure that I've got a good grasp on the game. This is why I listened to so much JM to Win when I first started playing. This is why I listened to so much Cheese is Good. This is why I listened at the time, Eric Crane, Stevie, Noto for golf. Back in the day, CSU Ram. Back in the day, E. Hafner. Back in the day, Beef Amajid. All these, this is why I took in all of their content, because I wanted to know how can I beat the game. And that's what if you do all the work on the front end, right? I don't have to go back and watch all those videos every day now. Like I've grasped the concepts. And so if you just put in that work on the front end, you will reap the benefits on the back end. This is why I've made it to live finals. This is why I've had 6-figure paydays. The same thing for you, Blender. We learn how to play the game.
I don't want people to learn how to play the game because it makes it harder for me. But I do it anyway. But I do. See, I benefit from the fact. I benefit from the fact that maybe 5% of you actually do it, but most people don't. And thank you for those people. But I mean, that's why I made the course, right? Theoryofdfs.com. You could go there, right? Learn about how to play the game. I mean, it is a game. And then once you understand that it's a game, then you understand when I say play whoever you want. And then you get where it's like, I'm not making predictions. I'm just like, is the payout worth what the likelihood of this happening is? If it's worth it, I do it. If it's not, I don't. It's not about, to me, it's not about figuring out how many points Jason Tatum is going to score tonight. It's about, what is my financial reward for certain events? And where are the inefficiencies in the market where I'm getting paid more than what I should be for that event happening? I don't care, because you'll see in the prop shop, right? My 6 out of 6. I only got 5 out of 6. I only got 5 out of 6. It's like, dude, if all of those were coin flips, the chances of you getting 6 out of 6 is still like less than 1 out of 20. If you get one of those a month, that is your expectation. So if you get 2 of those a month, you're Scrooge McDucking it right now. So like you have to have your expectations of, you're not trying to pick what's the most probable. You're trying to pick what's the most profitable. And over the long run, you will make money that way. In games like Pick 6, it's like they're like GPPs, right? You're looking to win dude, for those size GPP, win one a month, win 1 6 out of 6 a month, and you probably have a small profit, right?
Yeah.
If you win 2 6 out of 6 in a month, you have a nice profit. But then you have to realize that out of the 30 days of the month, 20, you'll have 2 like break even days, right? With like a 4 out of 6 or something, or a 5 out of 6 that barely pays. But then you'll also have 25 days where you just lose your money. It's just like you have zero.
And that's the thing. I don't hide from it. Like I told the props, I said, hey, it's been a rough couple of days. Like the past, 3 or 4 days, it's been break even, lose, break even, lose. And here's the thing. I don't try to stretch the envelope too much. I follow the projection, I follow the odds. And guess what? It's one of those periods where it's weird, it just doesn't work out. But I'm okay. But Blender, here's the thing. I always tell people, and I know we got to close this show out. Well, I think we had a really good show for a 4-game slate, by the way. I mean, kudos to you, kudos to me, kudos to us. I tell people, Blender, and this isn't, I don't tell them this specifically, but here's my phrase for it for myself. When in doubt, zoom out. right? Like you can have a bad stretch. And I went and looked back at my January blender. January was extremely profitable, but 2 or 3 days, and you're like, this is weird. But I went back and looked. I said, oh, January was great, And now today's the first day of February. Maybe I win 5 days in a row. Maybe I don't. But the point is, if you're building the right habits and doing the right things over the course of a month, Blender, in this business, DFS, pick six, however, especially with my particular style of play, I can go 2 or 3 days, but then I could have 2 or 3 days of the month that blow the whole month out of the water, and that's the month. Like, and I know that going in.
For me and GPPs, it's that consider that for a year.
Well, yes, yeah, absolutely.
So like, all I need is 2 or 3 good days a year.
Yeah,
in GPPs and DFS, and I'm set. I'm set for the whole year. So it's like, I can have 300 losing. Fine, okay, I'll lose 3. It doesn't matter to me. I just need 2 or 3 good days, and for the most part, of 8.5 years of doing this, I average about 2 or 3 great days a year. That's welcome to GPP life. That is what it is. Props, on the other hand, are different. Props are like cash games. Props is when you're doing straight props, not the pick cards or anything.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm just looking to get 7-8%, maybe 10% ROI over the long run. But like, for anything where you're competing with the prizes are much bigger, like, dude, 2 or 3 days a year could make it one day. If I win a milli, I guarantee you I'm going to be profitable that year. I don't put in more than $1 million worth of entries. So
correct.
I don't play many of those types of contests, but if I did, typically 150K score a year, I'm good. Like, it makes up for everything.
Right. And that's the beauty of the game, Blender, I think. Like, if you know that going in, that's the beauty of the game. It's not to take down 50K every week or 100K every week. Like, I'm not squirrel patrol. I don't. That's not my. That's not my version of playing. But Blender, and Blender. Now I will say, Blender. Back in the day, that was me. Like, I was, a much higher. Let's call it higher stakes player, where I'd be in $1,000 contest or 3,000, and I've changed over time. Props and props is kind of
you're putting that, you're being more diversified and putting that money in other places.
Correct. So I don't have to do it anymore. But back in the day, that was me, and so I would win a monster once a month or something for 20K. But you got to understand, like, different. That was a different time period. I was approaching DFS a lot differently, but now, and that's the other thing too. I was strictly mostly a FanDuel player, because that, for whatever reason, Blender, that's where I made the money. Like, at one point, me and DraftKings just didn't agree for some. I don't know what it was, but it's like I could play the same thing on DraftKings and lose. I played on FanDuel and I win. And obviously, I know the salary structure is different, but what I'm saying is, mentally, FanDuel was just a better site for me. Now, over the years, but that has changed. Now, DraftKings is a better site for me. But anyway, I'll shut up. I think we had a good show today, man. I was glad to be able to talk strategy. It's one of my favorite things to talk about, and so I thoroughly enjoyed this show.
That's what I try to do on these shows. I mean, especially when we only got NBA today.
Yeah,
right. It's not only that we just got NBA today, but we have only a 4-game slate, and almost everyone's on the injury report. So, like, why not talk about strategy? There'll be days where we have more NFL and NHL and MLB and stuff like that. And of course, I've been gone for a week and a half, and I feel like I'm getting back on the saddle again. Right, week and a half without, typically you get into a groove. And you're used to, thinking about things very much quicker, getting your process down and everything. So, nice little refresher course in a way. And just describe how, if you have, like we talked about pick six, if any of these peer-to-peer games comes out, that dynamic, that the 3 levels, projection, correlation, and leverage, will exist for all of them. So it's not like you need to relearn things from scratch. You could get the Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports, my 15-hour audio masterclass, at theoryofdfs.com. You understand those concepts? you're set, and you just implement them over and over and over again, and you think faster and faster, and you're able to approach slates the same way. It's like, oh, I think this is a great vomit stack. They're under-owned. Well, how do you know that? It's like, well, based on these concepts and based on these numbers, that's the way it looks like. Is that going to happen? I have no idea. All I know is that when it happens, I get paid more than it should. So I'm going to play a lineup that looks like that. Like that, it's literally, that's what it is. And the same exists for props. And if people want to find you in the prop shop, join rotogrinders.com/Discord. It's free. It shouldn't be free. I'm telling you right now, it shouldn't be free. I don't know why our Discord is free. My premium, my channel is premium. So you have to be a premium member to get my channel. And my channel, you can talk to me whenever you want. That is the best place to go. If you post in my channel and I'm not on vacation, I will put, because I have messages I have to get to people asking questions in there while I'm on a cruise. So, I'll get in there right now. But the Chiefs prop shop, that is free. So if you want to join all the people in there talking about props, we have sport channels for everything. We got Sim Labs, right? We got a Sim Labs channel, but you can't use Sim Labs unless you're a premium member. So join, become a premium member. Click on that link in the description. Get 10% off your first month. I'm pitching all the stuff, right? I come back after a week and a half. I got to say, here's my course. Here's the premium stuff. Here's the Discord. Here's everything. Come back on the saddle. We got Super Bowl coming up next week. We'll be talking a bunch about that. Tomorrow, Squirrel Patrol will be on, discuss the 13-fight MMA slate as well as NBA as well. So we'll talk about that, because that's I'm back, and that's what we do here, right? I come here Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock Eastern, talking about all things you're thinking about in daily fantasy, props, and pick 'em on RotoGrinders Today.